Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to go over the Renin-Angiotensin-Aldosterone System, or otherwise known as RAS. RAS is a compensatory mechanism used by the body in order to improve blood pressure. So in instances of low blood pressure, RAS will be activated, and that's one of the compensatory mechanisms to increase blood pressure. The other being the use of baroreceptors. But in this video we're going to concentrate on RAS, and we're going to go through what RAS does in order to increase blood pressure. So beginning with the stimulus, RAS will activate on low blood pressure or hypotensive states. And it does this way. So beginning with the kidneys will secrete renin, and that'll enter the circulatory system. The liver, it'll secrete a protein called angiotensinogen. Now renin and angiotensinogen, they'll come together in the circulatory system, and they're going to create angiotensin 1, and I'll abbreviate it as A1. Now once angiotensin 1 is in the circulatory system, and it's going to move up into the pulmonary tissue. When it gets to the pulmonary tissue, it's going to meet an enzyme which goes by the name of angiotensin converting enzyme, or ACE for short. Now angiotensin 1, on contact with this enzyme, this ACE angiotensin converting enzyme, will turn A1 into angiotensin 2. So the ACE within the lung tissue will turn angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. And this is also the first part of the RAS system that hypotensive medications will work. So you can get medications which fall under the category of ACE inhibitors. And this is the first instance of where the hypertensive medications are going to act within the body. So moving on to the peripheral tissue. So angiotensin 2, it does two different things. One being that it's an adrenergic receptor agonist, and it causes peripheral vasoconstriction. So by binding to alpha-1 adrenergic receptors on smooth muscle, it will cause them to constrict. And so by constricting this, you increase peripheral vascular resistance. And if we recall that table which sums blood pressure up for us, we have our cardiac output, and we times that by peripheral vascular resistance. So by increasing PVR, we've increased blood pressure. So this is the first instance that angiotensin 2 here is then raising blood pressure. It also is going to have an effect on adrenal glands. Now, angiotensin 2 targets specifically the zona glomerulosa on the adrenal glands, and this produces aldosterone. Aldosterone. So with the synthesis of aldosterone now, this will move to the distal convoluted tubule, located here on a nephron, DCT. Now, at the DCT, aldosterone will then begin the process. It'll bind to the G protein coupled receptor, and secondary messenger systems will then produce proteins on the membrane. Proteins such as sodium, potassium, ATPase, pumps. Now this here is the driving factor for how you're getting water back into the system from the DCT. Sodium potassium pumps on the DCT, you'll bring in sodium back from the filtrate back into the systemic circuit, and you'll exchange it for potassium. So sodium comes in and potassium goes out. Now of course H2O follows sodium. So these two just through the actions of aldosterone on the distal convoluted tubule, will move filtrate from the nephron and back into systemic circulation. And in doing this, you increase blood volume, or plasma volume. And if you increase that, you increase cardiac output. And again, we go back up out to our chart here. Aldosterone increases the cardiac output. Angiotensin 2 increase the peripheral vascular resistance on arterial smooth muscle. And again, with increased blood pressure.